do the invocation.
Hallowed be thy name. It is once again that you've allowed us to come together, these your servants, to assemble in this place to do the will of thy people. We pray your blessings upon this county as well as this state and this great nation. We ask for your guidance and your direction in all that we do in this place, for we realize that thy will must be done and thy will alone. Let us dismiss any personal agendas and take us out of the equation, Lord, that you may increase, that we may decrease. We pray for your knowledge and wisdom from above in all our decision making. Let us live up to the oaths we have taken to do what's right, that we may be pleasing in thy sight. We pray for the leadership of this great nation and the realization and understanding that all the divisiveness and things that drive us apart are not of you. And regardless of who gets the credit for what, it is thy will that must be done, for we are in control of nothing. We pray your blessings upon all those who defend this great nation and all that they hold dear and all that holds them dear. Father, when we've done all we can do in this place, we just pray for a home in that kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good to see everyone here tonight. Let's do the roll call, please. Okay. Let's have the count. 21. Everybody's here today. Let's hold up just a second for Mariana. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
And we have any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. 21 yes. We're going to leave it up here just for a minute, make sure everybody can see it. We're going to slow down a little bit on when we go to the next item. All right, item 6. Review the minutes of the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
And do we have a second? All right, any discussion? All right, question being called. Let's vote, please. Looks like this voting system is pretty quick. This new system. Start bragging on it, though, something will happen. Let's have the count, please. Oh, Ms. Patton, okay. 21 yes, okay. Okay, next item, number 7, resolution, memorial, sympathy, and commendation. Ms. Patton?
Resolution in honor and recognition of Ricky Powell Milburn, deceased, for his devotion and dedication to the citizens of Coffee County, Tennessee. Whereas Ricky Powell Milburn earned the admiration and respect of the legislative body of Coffee County and every citizen by serving as a member of the Coffee County School Board for over 30 years. He was an umpire for men's and girls softball for many years and was an elder in his church. Whereas his tenure of service was characterized by dedication, fairness, and understanding service to the people of Coffee County, be it resolved, therefore, that the Coffee County Board of Commissioners hereby commends Mr. Ricky Powell Milburn, deceased, for his outstanding service to Coffee County, Tennessee. Be it further resolved that the family of Ricky Powell Milburn, deceased, receive a copy of this resolution and that a copy be maintained on file as permanent record. Passed and so ordered this 13th day of March, 2012.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
And a second? All right, let's go ahead and vote, please. All right, let's have the count. 21 yes.
Notaries: Doug Aaron, Christina Benavides, Alicia.
Okay, he's got it now. Go ahead and start over, please. He didn't have the, we was taking a little more time, Roxanne, so that people can see the vote. We're gonna slow down a little bit on that before we go to the next item. All right, I think you're ready. Go ahead, Rich.
Doug Aaron, Christina Benavides, Alicia Blevins, Yukiko Brace, Faye R. Brown, Polly L. Brown, Linda F. Burnett, Matthew Phelps, Joanna Foster, Michael E. Giffen, Tammy Hall, Jessica J. Germay, Jennifer Johnson, Karen L. Keith, Kelly Lawrence, Jackie Medford, Edward E. Miller, Walter Nichols, Robin B. Peoples, Heather H. Powers, Frank B. Pratt, Jeffrey D. Rodner, William C. Reeder, Laura M. Smith, Patricia A. Stone, Mary G. Talley, Tracy D. Wilkins, Diana Keel Williams, Lana K. Woodard, Deborah F. Boyd, Terry Hall, Giannina Rutledge, Caroline Tuck, Connie A. Brantley, Rochelle Spraggins.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have and a second. Any discussion? Let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. 21 yes.
Number 8, elections. Number 9, reports, county officials, standing and special committees.
Hang on just a minute, he's got to get it. But this is,
I have to get used to this.
we're used to going a little faster, but we want to slow down so that you can see the vote, and so, all right, we're ready, aren't we, Ken? Okay, now go ahead on number 9.
Number 9, reports, county officials, standing and special committees. A, jail review committee report.
Commissioner Byrd?
Thank you. Ken, thank you for changing the colors. I can read them. The first go-around when we had this, the colors were crazy. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, jail review. Where we stand is we are in the process of getting a full wetlands delineation. The actual delineation has been done. Scott St. John's and Jim Patterson, his environmental guy, have gone out to the site and with their shovels, and they've basically literally put flags out marking the wetland areas. Right now, the surveyor is in the process of transferring those markers through the GPS or however they do it to the site map. When that's completed, hopefully by the end of this week, first part of next week, we will give that to TDEC, and TDEC and Scott St. John's will plan another meeting where they come up and look at it. Again, I hope that happens toward the end of this week, first part of next week. When that happens, if they give a favorable report, the next piece that's ongoing right now will come into play. The other piece that's going on right now is we had the architect go ahead and get the core samples done for the projected site. They have to have quite a few core samples done to know exactly how deep the dirt is, down to know how much cut they're going to have to, undercut they're going to have to do. And that piece of information is the last piece the construction manager needs to have to be able to tighten up his budget estimate. So we're getting the core samples done right now also. If the TDEC people give us a thumbs up on the wetlands assessment, then we will have the information from the core samples to the construction manager. The construction manager will then be able to give us as firm a budget estimate as we can get. And we will take that to Budget and Finance within the last couple of weeks of, the last week or so of March, to discuss with them and CL about the bond resolution, hopefully presenting that bond resolution to this commission at our April meeting. So we have all the pieces, trying to get them in the right places so that we can make a proper decision with the proper information. And the real thing that's driving us right now is getting the firmest budget estimate we can from the construction manager. And he said once he has the core samples, he knows how far to undercut, and he can estimate all that a lot better. So another thing that I started pursuing, I didn't know until Friday, but there is a grant that may be available to us. It's called the Clean Tennessee Energy Grant Program. I made a call to Gary Cunningham. He's a professor at Tech, and apparently he's somehow involved in this grant information. And I'm going to contact him to see if and what we need to do to make the jail to qualify us for that. If we qualify, it's $250,000 a year for 5 years. The only caveat to that is Tim Morris has already put in for that grant for the for the school bus system and doing some cleaner buses. If we have a conflict there that my involving the jail is going to somehow negatively impact Tim, I'm not going to pursue it anymore. Tim's already got the paperwork in. He started it first. I'm going to honor that because, I don't want to mess his apple cart up. But if we can double dip and the county can get money for the buses and get money for the jail because we're being energy proactive, hey, that's great for the county and it's great for everybody. So that's the only other.
Chris,
Yes.
I just want to mention that I'm also working on a grant, the same one for the ambulance station.
Well, so if we can triple dip, that'd be awesome. If we qualify, we qualify.
Yeah, this is for all 5, the 4 stations and the administrative building.
Okay,
For lighting, improved lighting and HVAC.
good.
I may be-
There's money out there, we're trying to pursue it, and that's exactly the kind of thing we're
This-
supposed to do, so.
This is TVA money too. isn't
Yes,
it?
it's TVA
Some type
money.
of settlement, and the state of Tennessee's got, I think the state of Tennessee is the one that you're gonna be dealing with.
Yeah,
on.
yes.
Is that right, Tim?
So, that's where we are with that. I don't have an update from Jim Hart on where his cost of operational evaluation for our current facility and our proposed facility. I don't have any update from him how he's coming with that. but I have a note here to call him tomorrow to get an update, so I apologize for that oversight on my part. And that's all I've got.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept his report. All right, and second, all right. Any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. Hmm. 21, yes, okay. All right, let's give just a minute here, Roxanne, and let everybody can see it, and let's go ahead, Ken, and go to the next. Item number 10, we don't have any unfinished business, do we? Okay,
Number 11, new business.
all right, give him a chance there. Okay,
A, Coffee County, Tennessee fund balance policy.
yeah, we'll let Mary Ann and Rush speak to this.
This is actually a requirement of GASB 34. In the past, we have always used the state's default policy, but now we have our own, and what that is it just requires a certain amount when we do our budgeting, that we have so much set aside in our general fund. And if you've read through the policy, it says we'll reserve 4% of our expenditures for the next proposed budget. We're going to reserve 4% of those. And also, if we ever get in a situation where we need to spend down some of our reserve funds, it designates which order we're going to spend those down. So that's what that policy is for.
Commissioner Bricken, do you have anything to say?
This came out of Budget and Finance with 100% approval. As she says, this is we got to do it, guys. So, if you have any issues with it, let's talk about it. But this is pretty much standard bond fund balance policy, and I'm pretty certain it will probably be universal adopted in this format by pretty much every county in the state. You can ask again. I can't on the 4% fund balance. I think that is pretty much standard.
Commissioner, could we get we're going to discuss it, and then can we get a motion? Can you make that as a formal motion, and we'll go into that discussion?
So moved.
Second? All right, keep going, Rush. Explain that 4%.
Yeah. I'm going to ask our budget director to explain the 4%.
Oh, okay.
Well, in the past, at least past 6 years that I've been here, we've always reserved at least $750,000 to $800,000 of our general fund, and 4% is about what that would be. So it's not really changed anything. We had that rule of thumb we've always followed in the past. This is just putting it in writing.
Okay, so it'll be simple math from now on. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Well, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. 21, yes. Okay, Ms. Patton?
B, Resolution 2012-02, a resolution that the General Assembly repeal TCA 337304, Public Chapter 531, Section 45, and to require the state of Tennessee to continue to be financially responsible for outpatient and inpatient mental health evaluations and treatment for individuals charged with misdemeanor offenses only.
Okay, if we can get a motion in a second so we can discuss it. Thank you. All right, now, discussion. Commissioner Ricken, you're back on the floor.
Well, guys, the last thing we need is the state to cram down unfunded mandates to us. So, we should support this resolution.
Question's been called. Let's vote, please. All right, 21 yes. All right, let's hang on just a minute, Roxanne. Give everybody a chance to see that. All right, let's go to let's let him type in the next item. Ken? You will, please. There we go. Okay. Roxanne?
C is budget amendments.
Okay, Mariana?
I've got, two for the drug fund and the highway fund, and then we could do one vote on that, and then we've got some school board amendments. We could have a separate vote on those.
Okay, so you're gonna read 3 of them and then we're gonna vote.
And we'll read the two,
And then,
first two.
and then the highway fund, is that 3? Or is that just 2?
Two.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The first one is the, excuse me, drug fund, number 122, 2012-02. A decrease in undesignated fund balance of $10,000. Increase in insurance recovery of $4,200. Increase in maintenance and repair of vehicles, $4,200. Increase prisoners' clothing, $5,000. Increase communication equipment, $5,000. It's a total of $14,200. The second one is for the highway. It's number 131, 2012-03. A decrease in highway and bridge maintenance, pipe and concrete, $22,000. Road signs, $10,000. Salt, $10,000. Increase in insurance recoveries, $847. Decrease in unassigned fund balance of $10,203. Total of $56,050. Increase administration other charges, $7,750. Increase other charges, $2,000. Operation and maintenance, uniforms, $1,300. Diesel fuel increase, $30,000. Increase in gasoline, $15,000. Total $56,050. These were approved by Budget and Finance.
All right, we can get a motion in a second. We'll discuss it if we need to.
So move.
All right, and a second? All right, thank you. Any discussion? Commissioner, Chairman of the Budget and Finance, would you like to make a comment?
Through my mind, it's interesting that the drug fund has twice the fund balance as the highway fund. It seemed like it'd be great to get the highway some of that money, or somebody else some of that money. But Sheriff, what can I say?
Any other discussion? Question's been called. Let's vote, please. Let's have the count. 21 yes, okay. Let's go to the next item since it's 21 yes. Just give him a chance to get it. Well, the next two is another amendments. Okay. Mariana, budget amendments?
We have two budget amendments for the school. I don't know if you want me to read all of these.
Well, whatever you think,
Lengthy.
whatever you think you need to do on it.
Mr. Chairman.
It's been through budget and finance.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, these are, I mean, this could take for the safety
Yeah.
of time, some time to read this. You know, if, I don't know if Kenny's here or Frederica. If they could just come up and maybe answer any questions that out of any full commissioner that might have about this has passed budget and finance, or talk about any large budget amendments that might be affected. A lot of these are fairly routine operational transfers.
Let's get a motion on that, Commissioner. You want to make that as a motion, and then a second, then we'll let...
I'll get a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
All right, and then a second? Thank you. Now, let's...
Anyway, I think we've got to move this along a little faster.
Mhm.
Ask Kenny or Frederica to say, are there any large ones they would like to talk about, or answer any individual commissioner's question about them.
Okay, that'll be good right there. Does any commissioners have any questions? Well, if not, let's vote, please.
You're not going to give Kenny a chance to talk?
He didn't, nobody wanted to ask him anything, Commissioner. All right, let's see, well, we got Miss Patton, okay. All right, 21 yes. Okay, Mariana, do you have anything else? No. Okay, thank you. Miss Patton?
D, Resolution 2012-03, a resolution of Coffee County urging the adoption of legislation expanding the authorization of municipal electric systems to expand fiber optic networks and to provide competitive broadband services outside their respective electric system service area.
We could get a motion in a second. Sure, Commissioner, got a motion and a second? Thank you. Commissioner Bricken, you've been a busy guy tonight.
Well, David, first of all, we passed this how many years ago?
2010.
2010. So this is really just a reauthorization.
Yeah, because
And it applies to any, it's not, I think this primarily came from the Tullahoma.
yes,
Utility
for the
District.
joint industrial park.
For the joint industrial park, but I think it would apply, I think in our last, if I remember 3 years ago's discussion, if Ben Lomond or any other utility wanted to provide service outside their normal territory, we would encourage that for industrial growth or commercialization.
That's exactly right. Any other discussion? Question's been called. Let's vote, please. Twenty-one yes. Okay, let's go to the next item. Give him a chance to get it in here, Roxanne. E, Ken, item E.
Okay. Resolution 2012-04, $22,750,000 rural school bonds.
Okay, if we could get a motion in a second, we'll get into discussion. Okay, we have and a second. Okay, now, let's get into discussion. Commissioner Bricken, this is another budget and finance, if you want to, and you can start it, and then the other commissioners can join in.
And I hope there is a good discussion on this. Of course, this is the second and will be the final leg of the sales tax referendum bond dollars, if it approves tonight. So the commitment and the finalization of this by this body will release this funds to the school board to execute the final part of phase one, I guess. Is that right, Kenny?
It'll be the final thing.
Okay. And so everyone, I hope, has followed publicly or in meetings where the current school board's position on these funds are going. If not, we should ask the school director or the school board chairman to come up and be sure y'all understand where this is currently going for. And then the other piece of it is certainly how we want to structure the notes, the repayment of it. There's, you know, the repayment of it, and we got our bond counsel here,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. C.L. Overman, and I think he needs to have the floor. Then we need our budget director to comment on the repayment method. So I think there are three pieces of information. One, the purpose, where's it going to go? And secondly, the structuring of the note. So,
Okay, so we want to start with Mr. Castile. Mr. Castile, would you like to come up to the podium, please? Mr. Overman, you're on deck.
Mr. Brigham, what was your question of me?
the current school board plans, once, if this bond resolution is passed, where the funds currently would be deployed, used.
All right, let me give you the motion that the board made to use these funds. The majority of the board voted to use these funds to build a new middle school on Highway 53 using the Caldwell property. They also voted in the same motion to use up to $500,000 on the present middle school to renovate it to use as a ninth grade academy, and funding left over would be spread through the other capital projects of our other elementary schools. That's the gist of the motion. That is what these remaining of these funds are to be used for according to that motion.
Chairman, the fund components between the middle school, you said 500,000. How much funds are we projecting for the elementary schools to have available?
Do you have that with you, Kenny? You have the
I don't
information?
have, you mean, how much is it going to cost to renovate the
Now, how much
elementary
is it going to
schools?
cost to build a middle school? How much are we, you said 500,000 up to 500,000 for
The,
the current middle school for the
present-
academy?
the
Let me
present
finish.
cost.
And then how much is each one of the elementary schools actually going to get?
Virgil, the costs that we've got are in estimates. We don't have drawings at this point. The latest estimate for the middle school project is, from 24 to 26 million. And those are inflated numbers. That's the best I can give you right now because that's the best our architects and construction manager can offer at this time.
I'm going to be sure the commissioners understand. There's currently 4.3 million,
There's I
some
think it's 4.8.
$4.8 million of of the first phase bond resolution still left there. So along with that 4.8 and this 2.22,
Point
whatever the numbers are, I'm losing my mind a little bit,
22,750.
is the funds that will complete this school capital projects.
Now, the latest figure, I think, Rush, was 27.9 total. That's what that is available. That was from CL.
It looks like about 27.5, is that what you said?
27.9.
Okay. So that'll be your total that you'll have to spend?
Yes.
27,900,000.
That's correct.
Do we have the projected cost of what the renovation needs are for the elementary schools?
Virgil, I don't have any cost on those because at this point, we don't know how much money we're going to have left over. We know that our elementary schools are in need of renovation because they are approaching the 49th, 50th year. Now, when we did an estimate in '07, it was estimated that Hillsborough would be 6 million and the elementary schools would be 9 million, but that was a total and complete renovation. But the latest figures, I don't have anything. Those are the best figures I've got right now.
How much did Hillsborough end up costing you?
Right at 4 million.
And it was estimated at 6, is that?
Estimated at 6, yeah.
And how many do we have left that needs to be renovated?
You have 4 elementary schools and 1 middle school.
I'm not against building a new school, but it just seems like that we have so much need presently. We're kind of moving into this, into this process when we're really not taking care of what we currently have. I don't know how good of stewards, how good of stewards we are when we're building new schools when we can't even take care of the ones that we presently got built, when we have kids already in these elementary schools that face day in to day out challenges, such as cafeterias that were built back in the 60s for 125 to 130, 140 kids, and some of them have way more than 300, 400 kids on them. So it's just a challenge to me. I know that we have to have a planned growth process and need new schools. We need new schools in several locations. I think the hindsight is that we should have been building a long time ago.
Well, we knew when we started with this plan that it would generate about 43 million. We knew that it would not be able to take care of all of our needs. Our original plan and what our plan is to completely was to what it was designed to do was relieve our overcrowding, and this is the final phase of that plan, to relieve overcrowding at the middle school and at the high school. But we still have other needs.
I've got a quick question on the proposed site. Looking at the proposed site, what improvements will need to be done in order to even service the site, such as utilities, septic, water, and what kind of additional costs are we looking at
Well,
to
you
be able to do
mentioned
that
all the
versus?
things that we don't have at that we don't have to. Sewer will have to be run to the property. We'll have to. That's the biggest issue that we'll have. It's cost estimate on it is about 400 to 450,000 to get sewer to the site.
Is there any, with something like that, is there any reoccurring annual costs?
Yes, we have a lift station there, just like we do at the high school. We base those numbers off the high school. That's about a $10,000 to $14,000 cost factor every year.
And water service? What kind of water service is there?
We have water there. I don't think that's an issue. I believe that's not a cost factor. I mean, we'll have to pay for the water, but we'll have to do that anywhere. But I don't think we have a cost factor on our water service.
Kenny, I believe they put in a 6-inch line all the way to New Union, didn't they? When
Yes.
they did the new road.
Okay, Commissioners, now's the time to ask him questions while he's up here.
So you don't think you're gonna have enough money to renovate the grammar school if, you build a new middle school and then you pay up to 500,000 for the academy? If the building, if it costs $2 million to build a new middle school, and you've allowed up to 500,000 for the academy, that only leaves like $1 million to renovate the grammar school for elementary schools that are in desperate need of renovation.
Well, that's true, Ms. Vann, but you also have to realize, and I agree with you, the numbers that I gave you are inflated numbers because we don't have a set of working drawings. The architects and the construction management are doing the best they can do on the cost of the building. There's a good possibility that this may be built for $22 million, and we would expect to be less than we would expect to build it for less than what the estimated cost is. Just can't give you an accurate number. The best number I've got is what I gave you right now. Procedure is if the bond issue passes tonight, then we will be working with the architects to do a topo map and do some soil borings. If that is clear, there's not any problems there, then the board will proceed in the purchasing procedure of the property. After that, our architects will start the procedure of doing drawings. And Mr. Duncan, that could be anywhere from 6 months to 9 months. But when those drawings are complete, then we will have an idea of what the cost will be, because we will enter into the bid process at that time.
I guess a question I've got, Mr. Castile, is looking at this I guess potential site. Are there any other alternatives that were explored, and if so, were there any other alternatives that allowed for us to maximize and stretch the taxpayer's dollar as much as possible to get some of these renovations, like what Commissioner Fan was speaking about and Commissioner Alford?
There were 4 sites that the board initially looked at, but this is the one that they selected as a majority.
Reason being, if you don't mind.
I don't have a good reason. I don't have a good answer for that.
Well, I know this is a very sensitive subject for people in the audience, but that Caldwell land was voted on before the state decided to give land to the old middle school where the middle school is now. The thing that bothers me, and two school board members told me this, that they had a right to buy the extra Caldwell land, if they eventually ever wanted to build a high school out there. First right of refusal. But my thing is, if a year down the road, they come back to the school board and says, okay, we've got somebody who wants to buy the rest of this land, because that was supposed to be, I guess, one of the selling things on there. And if we have somebody who wants to buy this land, okay, you need to pay us this much money for it if, you all want it first. And then there's no money that you can get to buy the rest of that land, so it's gonna be sold either to, someone else, or, you see what I mean? A first right of refusal on that land is worth a lot if you don't have the money to buy it first on the balance of the land. And I understood that was one of the good things about, buying that land, was that it could be expanded.
Well, the initial purchase acreage right now is 40 acres if the bond passes tonight.
I've got another couple questions, I guess. If the Caldwell site is the preferred site, can you give me again the cost estimate to be able to build there just for that site alone?
25 to 26 million, or 24 to 26 million is the best estimate I've got from our architects at this point.
Okay, and what would be the, as an alternative, building where, or at least expanding and renovating the current site, what would that, what's that estimate fall out at?
You mean the estimate to use the middle school site?
Yes, sir.
It was about the same, I don't know if I've got that with me, but it was about the same figures, I think. 26 to 24 million to do that.
Okay, and the difference between those two is one is just the middle school, but the other is not only, I guess, an academy, but the renovation of the current site as well, correct?
Well, the current, the middle school plan was, if that was going to be used, it was to renovate the middle school. That was going to cost anywhere from 10 to 14 million. And then beside it, there was going to be a construction of a ninth grade academy, athletic fields. It was a total renovation of the whole campus.
Okay. Does there happen to be any school board members here who could help us understand what makes one more attractive than the other when we're talking about several $1 million in increased spending?
Commissioner, are you wanting to call one up? Is that what you want to do?
If there's anyone here,
Is there,
if there happens to be
who
one here.
represents the school board as the school board members?
And the reason why I'm asking is because a second ago, Mr. Castile he said he didn't really have a good answer, and I didn't know if someone could be here that may be here who would have a good answer.
Mr. Chance, I've never supported the Caldwell site. I'm working on behalf of the board. That's my job.
Right, exactly, and I understand that, but that's why I was asking if there happened to be someone here who could, I guess, articulate the reason why the Caldwell site, or the Caldwell site is more attractive and is a better use of taxpayer money at the increased cost versus the other alternatives.
Ms. Hester, are you the chairman?
I am the chair of
Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak to that?
What I will speak to is not knowing that I was going to be put on the spot
Yes, ma'am.
and have to address uh, this body. I don't feel comfortable just off the cuff talking, but I will say this much. It was a desire, as any board, when you make a decision, it becomes the decision of the full board, not the majority of the board, but the board as a whole. So the decision to buy the Caldwell property is the decision of the Coffee County school system. We're not talking about majority, we're talking about the board. Once a decision is made, then that becomes the decision. That piece of law or policy or the motion becomes the property of the full board. So let me say that up front. I can't tell you why some voted for it and some voted against it, because I didn't go and ask people why they voted one way or the other. I didn't feel like that was my job. I wanted people to vote. People were to vote as they saw fit. And that's the best answer that I can give you.
Well, that's a good answer, ma'am. Commissioner Chance, do you want to call any other school board? Does any other school board members like to speak to that? I guess not, Commissioner.
And that's fine. Like I said, I was just looking for some rationale to justify an increase over one proposal over another, and I think it's good to have that when we're being asked to approve a bond and looking at different alternatives, and one in particular being proposed, and it could be almost to the point of not being sufficient to provide what is originally wanted through that proposal. So that's why I was asking, was just to get more clarification. I think it's important that we understand fully why we're being asked to support a site that could potentially cost more than the original site.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I guess, Kenny, in respect to the current site, is there advantages to get the children off of a highly congested area where we have a poor entrance to and from the interstate and move them to a site that has better controlled access, and it gets them off of the possibilities for a catastrophic kind of chemical spill with all the stuff going up and down that interstate?
Well, that's been a concern, of course, Mr. Kelly, but the architects are well aware of procedures of trying to move traffic off the roads as efficient as they possibly can. On all the designs they had, that's one of the areas that they concentrated on.
I guess I'll say, from my standpoint, being a Tullahoma person, that anything we can do to get traffic out of the way, make it move better between Tullahoma and the interstate certainly helps the development prospects of my community.
I'll agree.
Commissioner?
I don't know if there's ever if anyone ever has the ability to have a 100% correct, 100%, yeah, that's the thing we need to do. You know, there's always the pros and the cons, and thinking of, well, this is the right thing to do at this time, but yeah, let's hold back and look at something else. There's no doubt in my mind that we need an additional school. There's no doubt in my mind that we need our elementary schools renovated so that they're up to a standard of service that we can all be proud of as Coffee Countyans. We all know there's a price and there's a dollar tag that goes along with each thing. As far as, do I think the Caldwell property would be an okay place to have a school? I think it would be a great place to have a school. I think the things that concern me, I want to make sure that we have, not that I don't trust our school board, but sometimes when you're so close to a project, sometimes it's like you can't, it's like we have a saying at work, sometimes it's the forest and the tree effect. You see the forest, but you can't pick out the maple tree. So I'd like to know about the things that go along with the middle school, such as football fields, sports, all of these other things. What are our processes and what are our procedures going to be, and what kind of cost effect is this going to have? Is that property going to be laid out in such a way that all of those things are going to be on that campus, or some of those types of things? What types of hidden costs maybe have we not surfaced or looked at, or have we looked at them and have them all lined up to be taken care of?
Virgil, the cost that I gave you, the 24 to 26 million, that includes ample parking, that includes softball, baseball, includes soccer, it includes practice football facility. I think it includes a track, and it's all laid out in a site plan. I think it was in the paper not too long ago, but the architects have done a good job of laying everything out on the sites they
Well,
use.
I kind of understood that, but I've had phone calls, which you get phone calls, and that's okay. That's why I actually kind of encourage them, because it gives me the ability to understand what people are requesting, what they want, and what they desire for their tax dollars. So you're telling me that all of those needs are met, because some of the phone calls, maybe they didn't read the paper because they were interested in the fact that there were going to have to be busing of the kids back and forth to the present site from that location. I've heard all kinds of different suggestions, one pro and one con. We know all of the other things that go along with these types of sites and the sale of properties, and we know all that. We've been doing this a long time. We know that that goes along with it. My desire is to see that all the schools are taken care of in a proper way. And you know, I'm for the Caldwell property, but I'm also for to see that not only the Caldwell property, not only that community is taken care of. I want to see that every community that's represented, as far as a taxpayer that's fitting the bill for these things, to also have their children adequately taken care of as far as the education and the type of building that they're being serviced in.
Any other commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I had a few notes here. Just want to start by saying I think the county commission has a primary responsibility to our taxpayers to get the maximum benefits from the limited resources which are available for a school building program. The priority building needs that has been identified by the school board are a new, completely remodeled, renovated middle school, or a new middle school for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. The other priority is a 9th grade academy to alleviate overcrowdedness at the high school, and also to address additional space needs that they may have there. The third need is to renovate elementary schools, an unknown amount. Therefore, which of the two building site options and concepts are the most responsible use of the taxpayers' money to deal with these three major identified needs? The way I look at the numbers provided by the architects, we got a new middle school with 155,000 square feet. This is a proposal on the Caldwell site. Require about $25.8 million, serve 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. And you got additional cost of about $500,000 for sewer, $480,000 for land, about $40,000 for a school zone. This would require about $26.9 million of the $27 million roughly available, and only addresses one of the three identified needs. Additional costs will be incurred for three-phase electrical power, costs associated with athletic fields, yearly additional costs for transportation, and sewer maintenance. Okay, at the existing middle school site, you would have a completely renovated and expanded middle school with 161,000 square feet, require $14.4 million, and serve 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. Also, you would have a new ninth grade academy with 75,000 square feet, serving an additional 500-plus ninth grade students and require $12.9 million with additional cost of $225,000 for land. This would require about $27.5 million and addresses 2 of the 3 major identified needs and serves an additional 500-plus students as opposed to the Caldwell site. In summary, should the County Commission release the remaining $27 million for an option which addresses 1 of the 3 major needs, or an option which addresses 2 of the 3 major needs? Which do you feel is the most financially responsible decision? Also, if all of the funds are used for the Caldwell property site, were the funds needed for the ninth grade academy and a renovated existing middle school and renovations for elementary schools? My question is, where are those funds going to come from? Where is this commission going to get those additional funds?
Bobby, I'd like to respond to part of that, being a Tullahoma, and the fact that we're investing in an industrial park, that we're adding, how many more students did you say are going into that site with your figures, the current site?
With the ninth grade site?
Yes, sir.
About 500.
So we're going to add about, what's that, equivalent in terms, 25-30% more people going into the existing middle school, and we have businesses who have elected not to bring their business into our community because of the difficulty of getting to the interstate. I want to reduce that in order to get business in here. You may be looking at one end of the cost, but you're also looking at losing tax revenue and development in this community. The other comment I'd make on it, we're a brilliant commission, and we've elected that we need to buy a new site to build a jail, and at the same time we're questioning whether the school board's doing the wise thing and buying a new site to build a school. I'm not sure we're that much smarter than they are. They're that much dumber for us for doing the same thing. But the fact is, the more obstacles I put in between Tullahoma and this joint industrial park to getting to the interstate is more deterrent for me to get business in this community.
Any other commissioners?
Mr. Mayor, would you elaborate a little bit on how this is going to be funded, this bond issue, this $22,750,000? Where is the source of the money to do this?
CL. We'll just let CL do that. Did you hear Mr. Bryan's question?
I believe you'll find it in the bond document, won't you, Mr. Overman?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. County Commissioners, always good to be with y'all. Mr. Mayor, should I give a little background first on the resolution, since that's sort of...
You should.
And
you
then
do.
I'll respond to Mr. Bryan's question.
Okay.
The best I can. At the direction of the Budget and Finance, I'm sorry, I'm C.L. Overman with Morgan Keegan in Knoxville. It's been my pleasure to work with Coffee County for about a decade now on these various projects. At the direction of the Budget and Finance Committee a couple weeks ago, we directed Bass, Berry and Sims, who is your bond counsel in Nashville, to prepare the resolution that's before you. What that resolution would provide for is competitive bids. In other words, this bond issue either in one or more issues, and the odds are you'd end up probably doing 2 issues on this particular financing just to fit with the timing of the construction if you choose to move ahead. These bonds would be competitively bid in the national bond market. The interest rate environment currently is attractive. We have dropped the budget fixed interest rate from 5 to 4.5%. Frankly, we think you'd do better than that if we do move ahead with a portion of the financing in the not too distant future. The resolution does authorize the mayor and the Budget and Finance Director, working with Budget and Finance Committee, to make the final decisions on when exactly to issue these bonds. And that, frankly, will be a balancing act that we've had discussions in Budget and Finance Committee about. We know interest rates are good currently. Fixed interest rates are still at historic lows, in spite of the fact that those interest rates are so low, there's still great demand for municipal bonds out there in the municipal bond market. But the balancing act is the difference between locking in a good low interest rate in a known interest rate environment and yet not issuing your bonds too early. But what this resolution does do is authorize up to the 22,750, which would give the schools a total of $43 million over the last several bond issues. This particular bond issue is projected to provide 27.38. That includes new bond monies as well as fund balance that Kenny made reference to earlier. To answer the Commissioner's question just a minute ago, the funding does come from the 3/4 cent sales tax increase that was put into place several years ago. It also relies on existing rural school pennies that are in the existing budget, and as other old debt rolls off, those pennies that are there in place now would be available to continue to support rural school debt. And then there are some senior high funds out about 2028 that, if those pennies are rolled, that helps support this. That's a small part of the overall funding. So, Commissioner, it's a combination of sales tax, which was increased for this very purpose, and existing pennies that are in your budget now. No new property taxes are in this. And that's the summary of the resolution. If there's any questions I can try to answer, I'll be glad to.
Can I ask a question on, and this really, I guess I'm going to ask Budget and Finance, but this is part of the tax increase that we had funded previously, is that correct? The revenue bonds that had been previously, well, we had previously discussed it as approving part of the go-ahead to look at the school plan was to plan for this tax increase? Yeah, the 11 cents that are coming in.
No, it's entire.
No, nothing to do with that.
Rush. Yeah.
Let's only mark back up. This is strictly using the money that's from the bond referendum of 2009 there? Or
Yes.
There were actually three issues, 7, 8, and 9, portions of which went to the schools. About 20 million. They spent about 16, and therefore there's a balance.
But the funding source is primarily the sales tax pennies. But as he pointed out, the existing school debt that's funded by rural property tax pennies, that if you look at the county's bond repayment, those bonds will be paying off, and those pennies are now going to be committed to this bond resolution. So this is, if I'm saying it right, this is basically for 25 years, we are locked in with the current sales tax and the current property taxes. On the upside, we could get tremendous sales tax growth that would provide more pennies that might provide dollars, or property tax coming on stream. But if those two things don't happen, any future capital projects that are needed by this county for the school system can only be funded with additional property tax pennies. So,
Can I continue?
Yes,
just
go
for
ahead.
a second. Commissioner, to follow up on your question, what we've tried to be is very conservative in these projections by budgeting initially 5% and now 4.5%. Feeling good about doing better than that. On the other hand, this is not about feeling good. It's about trying to make common sense, conservative projections. So we feel good about the market right now, and hopefully for the rest of this year. But when it came to interest rate projections, we've been very conservative. So the basic plan of sales tax plus existing pennies in your budget now, and as existing debt rolls off in 2017 and 2028, leaving those pennies in place, we feel from the conservative approach we've taken to these projections that plan has worked and will work for you. Yes, sir.
certainly, we got CL up here. we need to talk a little bit, because this, this bond resolution, or the, I guess the intent in CL, and Mariana, can you join me on this? Because the issue dealing with, do we have this bond issue resolution committed to be what I call delayed principal repayments in order to level the revenue stream with the existing debt versus a normal principal amortizing repayment debt. Now, Mariana, just before the meeting, just made me aware that either in our, is that bond?
Our debt management policy.
Debt policy, that the commission's position is that we will only have straight amortization of principal on these bonds. So, can you help us out
Well,
without delaying this?
First of all, the normal, if there's any normal in the world anymore, the normal way counties issue their bonds is not level debt. Typically, that's just close to impossible. What we have done is, we think, a common sense structuring of these bonds. The county's already, we think, made an intelligent move on the first 20 million by locking in the very long maturities of your school financing back when the Build America bonds were available. And that way we could lock in and basically get a subsidized rate for you. So the 2038 and beyond bonds have been locked in for the duration, and what we left in the structuring plan was room to issue these bonds if you elect to do that. And because these bonds will have a shorter maturity time, the interest rate will be lower. Because the farther out you go, the higher the interest rate averages. So we think, frankly, we'll recommend you amend that policy, because level debt, you'll never get there, because you can't, you certainly can't use the sales tax plus existing rural school and senior high pennies to fund level debt, because you'll be paying, your debt service payments will greatly exceed what your revenues are. So yes, you'd be structuring your debt to some degree, but that, number one, that's a necessity virtually all counties have to use. And number two, you're locking in those rates in a historic low interest rate environment, so that negates some of the negative impact of structuring your debt.
She's just presented me with something that I certainly just haven't been able to reconcile. I understand where you're coming from, CL, and normally, but I certainly, if we've taken a position on structuring something that we have a policy that we said we wouldn't do, we need to be aware of it.
Yeah.
So, Mariana, can you help me?
I went and looked at it and split it up as level debt, and looked at all our commitments we have now and this 20 million, and I had it structured to where we could do it. It's about $500,000 more a year in bond payments, but we do have a significant amount of fund balance we've accumulated because we haven't sold all our bonds yet. So I gave that to Rush to look at, and it's my recommendation that we look at this straight line debt. I think it can be done, and I've shown it to Rush, and we need to look at that. It does save quite a bit of money. According to my estimates, it's $4 million over the life of the bond.
Obviously, this is probably certainly a debate and discussion that probably should have been flushed out at a budget finance.
We didn't get the CT form until, we had to get the bond resolution. That's why you didn't get it in budget and finance that night. We didn't get it, I believe it was like Wednesday. Roxanne needed to get the resolution out to mail the agenda.
Well, because, what she just presented to me has a potential of over the term of 30 or 40 years to be a $3 or $4 million savings in structuring the debt. Now, in this bond resolution, CL, I don't know if we can proceed with a motion, yea or nay, on the bond resolution and work out the structuring by authorization later or not.
The bond resolution provides the mayor and whoever else you want to make those decisions, to make the final decisions on the bond structure. So that's not, the structuring is typically based on what the market looks at it like at the time. And I'll be honest with you, it's the first I've heard about trying to do level debt. If that's possible, I'd love to look at those numbers, and we'll be glad to run them too and see if we think that's doable within your revenue. We've never discussed that possibility till tonight, so I can't answer that on the spot.
Well, I just didn't want to be locked in. I would hate to be locked in if this bond resolution locks us into the structure.
The resolution reads two ways. Number one, the primary county officials have the authority to make the final structuring decisions, which is what we're talking about here, and that's totally normal. That's the way bond resolutions are done, so that we've all got total flexibility as you move toward going to the market. There's another point there, and I'm having a senior moment. It may very well be that you can do level debt. We need to look at those numbers and see. The other thing, the verbiage, here it is. The verbiage that's in the resolution provides you to go either way on your, it says if the county commission decides to change that policy, that's fine, it works. Or if you decide to leave it there, you can do level debt. Just standing here cold without having had a discussion on level debt, I don't think it would work. Now, we'll talk. That's correct, and that's fine, but the resolution provides you the ability to do all that.
As long as we still have the lots of flexibility.
You do. Well, I mean, Mary Anna can confirm this. The bond council understood the challenges that we're up against. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
So she put that into the resolution to make sure that
It's on
you
page,
could,
page 16 of the bond resolution.
if there's any way to level out the debt structure and save you some interest money, we'll be the first ones to tell you that. Starting off with a level debt, though, right up front is going to be a challenge. But, you know, we need to look at the numbers Mary Ann had, and we'll...
Okay, Commissioner Alford and then Commissioner Chance.
I guess one question for Mr. Bricken is a statement that you made, this is something we need to work out.
Hold on a minute, he's getting the call. Go ahead and do that again.
Okay, Mr. Bricken, I guess the question that I would have from hearing the statement that you just made as far as this is not something we really would work out here, it's something we'd work out at a committee setting. Are you saying there's something within the structure that's been brought to us that from the details of the document or the instrument that has not been worked out, that certainly needs to be looked at before it's entertained? What is that?
Well, you know, again, I think what I'm hearing is that we can adopt this resolution and take it back to the committee to work on the repayment structure, that if we can fund it under a series of other debt that possibly over the course of the bond issue, say $7 million, certainly we need to certainly look at that. And all that will do certainly is allow sometime down the road, 20 years from now, money for some school projects. So if we can do that, we certainly need to look at it all.
Mr. Mayor, does that need to be in the form of an amendment to the document?
No,
or-
I think it's already in the
So
document. It's
so
already in
Are
there.
we saying that it's covered? Because
Yes.
I'm hearing from what he's saying that they need to go back to committee with it.
Well, he's talking about on the,
I think the authorization would allow Mary Ann and the mayor, but I think Mary Ann and the mayor would bring it back to the budget.
right.
Finance.
That's what it says in the
And
document.
I understand, but when I hear that statement, I just want to make sure that there's not something that's been left out that's not, needs to be entered into the document to cover the document needs.
It's in there,
The
Commissioner.
resolution covers all those eventualities.
It's that unknown that's out there kind of
Well-
dangling in the surface.
It's not really an unknown, it's, in all honesty, this is the first time we've discussed trying to do level debt, so yeah, that needs to be discussed.
It's
but-
just a
That-
particular.
that
the
is-
resolution
That is kind
allows
of
you
an
to do that.
unknown, because
Well-
if we haven't discussed it, it becomes an unknown.
Well, that's,
Or at least something that's not been looked at.
that's something that Budget and Finance can look at, and it's just another way to finance the project, and and we're gonna take a look at it through Budget and Finance. Commissioner Chance?
I take it that we're getting close to wrapping up on this discussion and going forward with the vote, but I wanted to make note of a few things. Number one, I don't have any preference towards any particular site, never have, and still don't at this time. I'm not against building any kind of new schools or anything like that. I believe that we should provide the best that we possibly can for all of our children. But I want to echo what Commissioner Bryan had to say about some of the things that the points that will not, and most likely will not be resolved if we move forward with this particular bond resolution and the particular site that's being examined right now. And I understand it as being one of my jobs is to make sure that we deliver the most product for the dollar for the taxpayers. And as it stands right now, with this particular option on the table, we may not be able to do that. So having said that, I want it to be clear and without any ambiguity as to why I'm going to vote against this bond resolution.
May I make a comment?
You sure
We've
can,
been,
Commissioner.
as we said in these hearings, that we've been going through this for years now. And if we don't do something, we'll still be looking back on it several years. They're very clear there is not enough in the funding of these bonds to do everything we want to do. We have to start somewhere. The elementary schools certainly need the attention, but we're going to have to come up with another funding mechanism to be able to build those new schools. And as you said, 5 of the 6 schools were built about 50 years ago within a 2-year, 3-year time period. They're getting old, they're falling apart in places, they have sewer problems, they're inadequate. Everyone understands that. The other portion of this is the elementary school children will have the occasion, as they go all the way through the system, to go to a new middle school, an adequate, at least safe academy, and a high school that is not overcrowded. The original plan that was put together years ago called for roughly $250 million, which was well beyond the means of this county to support. We've talked about it long enough. We need to do something. We've had so many hearings, so many ways of funding it, from wheel taxes to property taxes to the redoing. There's something in the legislative sessions now to readdress the distribution of the sales tax, which would, the second half portion, that would help the county. But all that aside, we've got to do with what we have, and I think to not move ahead with this would be a disservice to the citizens and more of a disservice to the children. And I will be voting in favor of this.
Any other discussion? Commissioner?
The school board has been looking at all these properties for a number of years, as we have. And I will have to give them, honor their decision to do what they're doing, because I feel like that they've looked at all the options and come up with this conclusion. What's before us is whether or not we're going to fund it. That's the only question before us, not to tell them how to do their job.
Any other comments? Commissioner Brickett?
Again, just a little bit of just follow-up. This is a funding issue, not a location issue. Again, and I really think that is our role is the deployment of the county's funds are gonna be, are best, looked at, our fiduciary responsibility there. And that's where it should be. Again, you know, it really is not intended to second guess the school board. It's sitting there saying, if they present a budget request that will serve long-term, so 2 years from there, we're not blindsided with an unfunded something else. So those are the things that we have to, I mean, this is a 30-year commitment, and I said we don't have any latitude without having some real luck on sales tax growth or property tax assessments for any other project. So we're shooting our last major, it's not a bullet, it's a cannonball, okay?
You're right.
Question.
Question's been called.
Mr. Overman? You know, the first question was asked before you got into some good discussion here was the source of payment.
Yes.
And I believe, look on page 8 in the document.
I know, but he,
On page 8 in the document.
Okay.
go ahead, Mr.
Before we
Oakley.
ask about the source of payment, read the first sentence down in section 4 on page 8
Now,
as
which
to the source of
which
payment.
document are you talking about,
The
Commissioner?
bond,
The resolution?
yeah, page 8. Your first page 8,
Okay.
source of payment.
Uh, Well, Commissioner, this is typical language that the bond council would put in there. Basically, what it says, the bond shall be payable from unlimited ad valorem taxes levied on taxable property within the county line outside the territorial limits of the cities. The key to this is the bonds are additionally payable from and secured by sales taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these are rural school bonds of the county, and if, like we've discussed here, if these other revenue sources fail, yeah, it goes back on the rural property tax, but
That's
nobody's going to buy your bonds unless that says
Right.
that.
I understand that.
I mean,
I understand that completely. And the point I want to make, it's payable from taxable property within the county lying outside the cities of Manchester and Tullahoma. If the sales tax is not sufficient to deal with this, then rural-only people will be taxed on property tax to pay this. And I just want
In all due
to make
respect,
that
that's
point.
nothing new. I mean,
Oh, it's nothing new.
no, we've known that all along. That's just
No,
the
and
way.
we've
that-
endured it for several years, so I mean, we're used to that process.
The key to it is the phrase that says additionally payable. That's,
I understand, but any property tax would be on property, rural property only, outside the
these are
cities
rural
of
school
Manchester
bonds.
and
That's
Tullahoma.
correct.
Correct.
Which is funding rural schools for rural kids.
Right. Go ahead, Commissioner Rickon, go ahead.
And I'm not sure if it's close to calling the question on it, but.
Well, it has been, but I have the right as chairman to let you
But I
speak.
would like, because what Mr. Brian just said, I would like a roll call vote, starting with the rural commissioners, on this issue.
Okay. Okay, so, we're going, hold on just a second. Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote, starting with the rural commissioners.
Mr. Mayor, before you do that, I guess I'd add one comment on what you just
Go
said.
ahead.
Under my understanding of Robert's rules, even if a question is called, it doesn't have to be observed as long as there are current discussions underway, they may continue.
You are exactly right, and as chairman, I make that call, and I did. You're right. Because I want all the information that we can get before we make this decision. We're not going to rush into this. You have one more? You okay? Just get ready, Teresa, and I'll tell you when.
You know, this is, you know, just like Bobby and several of the rest of you, other commissioners, I've been on the commission for a long time, and I've always tried to use a conservative aspect, a conservative means toward my vote, and try to think through of what's best for the county and the best way to spend the tax dollar. I don't know of any other process or means to do this other than what we're doing. I do want to thank the school board for their efforts that they've done with this. I mean, sometimes we look at it and we examine it and go back through it and think, well, it should have been done this way or that way, but it's not an easy job, and as this is. But we know, just as fellow commissioner said a while ago, if we don't move forward with this, we're going to be right where we're at, and the kids of this county are going to continue to be overcrowded, and so we do have to start somewhere.
Okay, we're going to do the roll call vote, and if you vote yes, then you're voting to do it. We're going to start with the rule first.
Ready?
We're ready.
Bobby Brown,
No.
Janet Fan. No. Gary Chance,
No.
Carrie Farah. Yes. Lee Duckett,
Yes.
Virgil Alford,
Yes.
Mary West. Yes. Tim Morris,
Yes.
Rennie Bell. Yes. Wendell Norton. Yes. Mark Kelly,
Yes.
Robin Hines,
Yes.
Jimmy Bradford. Yes. Myra Patton. Jackie Duncan. Christopher Byrd.
Yes.
Russ Ricken,
Yes.
Warren Walker,
No.
Stephen Jones,
No.
Wilma Thomas.
Yes.
Ann Frisbee.
Yes.
Anybody want to change their vote?
Did you hear her? She said, does anyone want to change their vote? If not, whenever you get a chance, let's have the count.
15 yes, 6 no.
Okay, it passes. Did you everybody hear that? 15 yes, 6 no. Okay. Okay, Miss Patton. Let's go to
F, Resolution 2012-05, resolution to provide for filling vacancies in Coffee County office. Let me start over. Resolution 2012-05, resolution to provide for filling vacancies in county offices elected from districts in Coffee County from the newly adopted reapportionment plan.
Okay, if we could get a motion in a second, then we'll have Vernita to come up and explain this.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Vernita, you're on deck and on board here.
Okay, this resolution we have put in to try to get it approved to elect the new school board member that's going to replace Mr. Milburn. Right now in August, there are already three school board seats that's going to be vacant or be elected. And so they are going to be using the new reapportionment districts. So if we do not accept this resolution tonight, then Mr. Milburn's seat will be elected by the old precinct districts. So what we're trying to do is to get everybody on the same page with electing seat 2, which is districts 4, 8, and 9. And if seat 1, which is districts 1, 2, and 3, the way that the reapportionment is, some of the old 4 has moved into districts 2 and 3. So if we leave that Mr. Milburn's seat is elected in the old 4, 8, and 9, then districts 2 and 3 may be voting on 2 people.
So we need to pass this.
We need to pass it.
Okay.
No.
Any other questions for? Any other discussion? Question's been called, and I agree. Let's vote, please. Waiting on Mr. Bricky. $21, yes, all right. Renita, sound like you did a good job selling that. Ms. Patton?
G, Coffee County School Board vacancy appointment for districts 4, 8, and 9.
All right. Do we have any nominations?
Yes, sir, we do. Last night, the rural and city caucus met and to vote on the Coffee County School Board vacancy. Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Frida Jones received 6 votes.
Okay, so
And-
is that, are you making that in a form of a nomination for her?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other nominations?
Yes, I was unable to attend the meeting last night due to job responsibilities in East Tennessee. Had I been there, I would have voted for Kenny Sadler, making it a 6-6 tie vote. So at this point in time, I'd like to nominate Mr. Sadler from the floor.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I second that.
Do what?
I second that.
Oh, you don't have to on these nominations. Thank you, though, for doing that. Okay, any other nominations? All right, hold on just a minute here. Okay, Mr. Pettigo, you want to explain this procedure? Everybody hold on and listen up here.
This will be a roll call vote, and in order to vote, since you're voting between 2 nominees, you will vote by saying the nominee's name. You'll either vote for Jones or Sadler.
Okay, now, before we get started, Commissioner Alford.
I'd just like to know if the nominees are present, and if they would stand
One
up.
is and one is not.
Okay, the one that is, would that individual stand, could we ask that individual to stand up?
We sure can. Okay, and that is Frida K. Jones. All right. Okay, does everybody understand?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sadler's not here due to his daughter having surgery.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bryan. Okay, how we're going to do this is exactly like he said. We're going to start with Manchester, then go to the rural, then Tullahoma. Okay? So we'll start with Manchester, and as you call their name, they'll say either Jones or Sadler. We're ready.
Warren Walker,
Sadler.
Stephen Jones,
Kenny Sadler.
Wilma Thomas,
Sadler.
Ann Frisbee,
Frida Jones.
Bobby Bryan,
Sadler.
Janet Fan, Eric Chance,
Sadler.
Terry Farah, Lee Duckett, Virgil Alford,
Jones.
Harry West,
Jones.
Tim Morris,
Frida Jones.
Rainey Bell, Wendell Norton, Mark Kelly,
Jones.
Robin Hines,
Jones.
Jimmy Bradford, Myra Patton, Jackie Duncan, Chris Byrd, Russ Bricken. Eight Sadler, 13 Jones.
Okay, Frida Jones has it. She has the majority. Oh, Ms. Jones, would you like to come up and make a comment? You don't have 3 or 4
Thank
pages.
y'all.
You don't have 3 or 4
No,
pages?
it's got
Okay.
one paragraph, and
Okay.
I'm going to read it because I can't speak from it.
You take all the time you want.
Okay. I have no other purpose for wanting to serve on the school board other than doing what is best for the children of Coffee County. I feel my background and experience in the Coffee County school system, coupled with my involvement with the local community, will serve to make me a valuable asset to the Coffee County School Board. My admiration for the teaching profession and my love for children serve only as my motivation for this appointment. All parents, no matter what their income level, want their child to succeed, and every parent should be treated equally. Parental involvement is of utmost importance in the success of a child, whether a kindergarten student or a high school senior. And I will have an open door policy for parents at all times, and I will listen to their concerns and suggestions. I'm a team player, and I know the importance of utilizing the knowledge and experience of everyone on the school board. Decisions made by the school board are very serious and should only be made after much thought and deliberation. And I will consider that in every vote I make. And I respectfully thank you for allowing me to serve until August in Ricky Milburn's place. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, Ms. Patton, we're down to statements and announcements, aren't we? But before I let the commission make announcements or statements, I'd like to make a couple myself. Margaret Cunningham, who has worked for us, well, she's worked for me for 5 years. She has leukemia, and she's in Nashville, and she's at the Sarah Cannon unit. She can't have visitors. She can't have cards sent to her. But you know, you can send cards to her house, and we do have her address, and we ask all of you to pray for Margaret. And one more announcement I have, Roger Dotson. Roger Dotson passed away March the 10th. Roger was the chairman of PBA. He also was the past president of the Chamber of Commerce, not once but twice, and served with the Chamber for over 40 years. Roger's going to be sadly missed, and he touched a lot of lives, especially mine. We graduated together, and I'm truly going to miss him, but he touched all of our lives, both professionally and personally. And his funeral's tomorrow at 2 o'clock at Central Funeral Home. And visitation is from 12 to 2 tomorrow, and tonight it was from 5 to 8, but anybody that knew Roger knew he was a good person, and he had nothing but the community in his heart all the time. Now, does any other commissioner have an announcement or a statement? How about the audience? Anybody want to say anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Good comments, Mayor. Good comments.